All right, so welcome back for another deep dive.
Oh, yeah.
This time we're diving into a game called Anomic,
Okay.
and their latest update, which is called Blood Ember.
Interesting.
And if you haven't played Anomic, it's a game that lets you build and role play,
Right.
and now apparently fight fires
Wow.
and even travel through time.
No way.
Yeah. This update has the Anomic community buzzing, so let's jump right in and see what all the excitement is about.
I think it's really cool how they're combining these Halloween themes with these significant gameplay changes.
Yeah.
You know, Anomic has always been about building and role-playing.
Right.
But this update adds firefighting, a returning quest with some tough choices, and yes, you're right, even time travel.
Okay, so first up, let's tackle this firefighting frenzy.
Okay.
So there's a brand new firefighting team that you can join.
Cool.
And the fires that you'll be battling are determined by the server itself, not player actions.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's a pretty unique approach, isn't it?
It is. The developers mentioned that they wanted, consistent action for the firefighters without having to rely on players to set things ablaze. So now fires can spontaneously erupt.
Right.
In apartments, forests, you name it. Imagine you're just chilling in your virtual Anomic home and all of a sudden your building goes up in smoke.
Wow.
Adds a little excitement to your day.
Yeah, that's wild. I'd be scrambling to find the nearest fire extinguisher. And speaking of firefighting gear, what kind of trucks are we talking about here?
So they've introduced 4 new fire trucks.
Okay.
So you start with the basic brush truck, but you can work your way up to the ladder truck, the tanker truck, and the top of the line, the big kahuna fire engine.
And they even get a dedicated firehouse, right?
Yeah.
With doors that automatically swing open as a truck approaches. I love those small touches.
Me too.
It's like they've really thought of everything.
I know. These details make the world feel so much more immersive. But let's move on from the heat of the moment. There's something else that's returning with this update.
Okay.
And it's a little more on the spooky side. The Blood Moon quest.
Oh, yeah, the Blood Moon quest. So this is all about Dr. Jackson Hogera and his cottage in forestry.
Right.
Now, players have a choice here. They can either raid the college for unique event props, or they can defend it and earn some in-game money.
It's really interesting that they've given the players that agency, don't you think?
Yeah, it is.
And what's really interesting is the lore behind it.
Okay.
Dr. Hogera is actually a captive of this shady corporation. They're called PES, Pilfer Energy Solutions.
Pilfer Energy Solutions, okay.
So if you raid the cottage, you're helping him defect.
Right.
But if you defend it, you're siding with his captors. It adds a whole other layer of moral complexity to the gameplay. Pretty cool.
That's a great point. It really makes you think about the consequences of your actions, even in a virtual world. And this quest isn't just readily available, right? There are some conditions that need to be met.
You got it. So the server needs at least 25 players for the Blood Moon quest to trigger.
Oh.
And even then, there's only a 1 in 8 chance of it happening each night.
Wow.
So it's a pretty special event when it does occur.
Yeah, that is special.
Yeah.
So while we're on the topic of this spooky quest, you mentioned unique props.
Right.
This update also introduces 13 new props, right?
Yes. And they've categorized them into regular, advanced, and event props.
Okay.
The regular props are available to everyone.
Yeah.
But you'll need an advanced building pass to use the advanced props. And as you might guess, the event props are tied to completing specific quests, like the Blood Moon quest.
Right, okay. To give you an idea of what we're talking about here, we've got everything from cardboard boxes and filing cabinets to a speech display and even a gravestone.
Oh, cool.
I can already imagine players getting really creative with these.
Oh, absolutely. Especially that gravestone,
Yeah.
It definitely adds a spooky touch, especially if you're going for a certain aesthetic in your builds.
Yeah.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
Gotta talk about the part of this update that really blew my mind.
You mean the time travel?
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely caught my attention.
I know.
Let's talk about those 2 new vehicles.
Right.
The Caroline and the Rocket 88. They sound like they're straight out of a movie.
They really do. So the Caroline is based on the 1958 Plymouth Fury from Christine.
Okay.
And get this, it can actually self-ignite and explode.
Oh, my goodness.
Talk about a grand entrance.
Yeah, that's what I call dramatic flair.
I know, right?
But the Rocket 88 is the one that really takes things to the next level.
Yeah.
It's based on the DeLorean from Back to the Future, and it actually lets players travel through time.
Time travel in Anomic. Who would have thought? It's pretty wild, but the update notes specifically mention that it sends you back to colonial-era England.
Colonial England. That's interesting. Is there a reason they chose that particular period?
Well, actually, it's kind of a clever callback to a previous April Fool's update they did.
Okay.
Called the Great Britain Update.
Oh, right.
So they're weaving in these references to their own game's history, which is kind of fun, you know.
That is fun. But the big question is, how does this time travel actually work within the game?
Right.
Like, is it a separate game mode? Do you keep your inventory? What are the rules of engagement? The update notes are a little vague on the details, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, which only adds to the mystery, I guess. We'll have to wait and see how it all plays out in the actual game.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we've only scratched the surface of this Blood and Ember update. There's so much more to unpack here.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what's fascinating to me?
What's that?
It's how they've taken all these, like, totally different things, right? The firefighting, the spooky quests, and the time travel, and they've, like, woven them into what Anomic already is.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. It's like they've taken the core concept of the game.
Right.
You know, the building, the role-playing, creating your own fun.
Yeah.
And expanded it in these, like, really unexpected directions.
Exactly. Anomic's always been this, like, sandbox game.
Right.
Where you can build almost anything. You can join all these different teams, role-play with other players.
Right.
And this update just throws all these new toys into the sandbox.
It's like they said, okay, you want to be a firefighter, go for it.
Exactly.
You want to raid a cottage under a blood moon, have at it.
Yeah.
You want to hop in a DeLorean and mess with the space-time continuum.
Yeah.
Why not?
I love that.
It's that like sense of freedom and possibility that really makes Anomic stand out, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And the potential for emergent gameplay is huge.
Yeah.
Just imagine, you know, the scenarios that could unfold with these new elements.
Oh, yeah. I'm already picturing players building these elaborate fire stations.
Right.
With obstacle courses and training simulations.
Oh, totally.
Or maybe someone creates a whole historical reenactment society dedicated to, you know, preserving the integrity of the past. Or maybe even altering it.
Right.
Yeah.
And think about the role-playing possibilities. Imagine a group of firefighters, right?
Yeah.
Responding to a blaze at Dr. Hogera's cottage during the Blood Moon quest.
Whoa.
Are they there to protect the cottage from raiders, or are they there to help Dr. Hogera escape in the chaos?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It adds a whole other layer of complexity
right.
and intrigue to the quest.
Totally.
And then you throw in the time travel element.
I know.
It's like they've created this recipe for endless storytelling.
It really is.
Who knows what kind of ripple effects these updates will have on the Anomic community.
It's going to be fascinating to watch how players adapt and incorporate these new features into their gameplay. Maybe we'll see a bunch of new players drawn to these unique features. Or maybe longtime players who kind of drifted away will come back and be like, whoa, what's going on here?
Right, right. What do you think?
I think it's safe to say that this update's going to shake things up.
Yeah.
And speaking of shaking things up, it'll be interesting to see how the developers themselves handle this whole new dynamic.
Right.
Do you think they'll have to, like, make adjustments to the existing game mechanics to make sure everything flows smoothly?
Yeah, I mean, there's always that possibility, right, with any major update.
Oh, absolutely.
But based on their track record, I'd say they're pretty good at listening to player feedback.
Yeah.
And making tweaks as needed.
For sure. Remember, they even mentioned in the update notes that they're open to adding, you know, player-caused service calls for the firefighting team in the future.
Yeah, that's cool.
So they're definitely committed to evolving the game based on what the community wants.
That's reassuring to hear.
Yeah.
It shows they understand that, you know, a game like Anomic thrives on its community.
Totally.
You know, the more they can foster that collaboration and creativity, the more successful the game will be in the long run.
For sure.
But it's not just about the developers, is it?
No.
It's about the players themselves.
Yes.
We've talked about the new features, the potential impact, the developer's vision. But what does all this mean for you, the listener?
Right.
Why should you care about Anomic and this Blood and Ember update?
That's the real question. Well, I mean, if you enjoy games that offer freedom, creativity, and a constant stream of surprises, then Anomic might be right up your alley.
Yeah, it's not your typical game.
Yeah.
It's not about, you know, following a linear storyline.
Right, yeah.
Or grinding for loot. It's about forging your own path, making your own fun, whether that's building your dream home, battling virtual infernos, or hopping in a time machine and causing all sorts of delightful chaos.
I love it.
And this update just amplifies those elements, taking them to a whole new level.
The developers have taken a bold step with this update.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling it's going to pay off. They're not afraid to experiment,
Right.
to push the boundaries. And that's what keeps Anomic fresh and exciting.
Yeah.
They're just saying, here's a sandbox. Now go out there and make something amazing. What could be more inspiring than that?
You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
This update is an invitation to be creative, to be imaginative, to be a part of something unique. It's a chance to explore a world where the only limit is your own imagination.
I like that.
So, if any of this resonates with you, I highly recommend checking out Anomic. You might just discover your new favorite virtual playground.
And, it's not just about the individual features, but it's about how they interact with each other. That's where the real magic of Anomic lies. Imagine this, okay?
Okay.
You're speeding toward Dr. Hogura's cottage in your fire engine. Sirens blaring as the blood moon hangs heavy in the sky. You arrive, and the cottage is engulfed in flames. Figures are darting in and out of the shadows. Are they allies or enemies? Are they trying to steal Dr. Hogura's secrets or protect him from those who would exploit his knowledge?
And just as you're about to make your move,
yes,
a Rocket 88 materializes out of thin air, its flux capacitor is glowing, the doors swing open, and who steps out? A time traveler, of course. But whose side are they on? Are they friend or foe? I was like a movie.
Right.
And with all these new props, players can build these even more elaborate and immersive environments to stage these scenarios.
Right.
I could just picture a whole firefighter-themed district, complete with a firehouse, burning buildings.
Yeah, of course.
And maybe even a secret underground lab.
Right.
Where someone's tinkering with time travel technology.
Totally.
The possibilities are endless.
I know. And that's what makes Anomic so captivating.
Yeah.
It's a game that just constantly evolves, encourages experimentation, collaboration.
Right.
It never stops surprising you with its depth and complexity.
Right.
It's like a living, breathing world where players have the power to shape their own destinies and create really unforgettable experiences.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Anomic's Blood and Ember update,
okay,
I have one final thought for you.
All right.
If you're even remotely intrigued by what you've heard today, I encourage you to check out Anomic for yourself.
Absolutely.
Dive into the forums.
Yeah.
Watch some gameplay videos. Get a feel for this incredible community.
I mean, you might just discover your new favorite virtual playground. A place where you can be a hero, a villain, a time traveler, anything in between.
Right.
The only limit is your imagination.
And who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see you there.
Yeah.
Putting out fires, raiding cottages, or joyriding in a time-traveling DeLorean.
That's right.
Until then, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
On this deep dive into Anomic's Blood and Ember update.